Welcome to our collection conversations, where we discuss artworks that have newly entered the Guggenheim's collection. The theme of this conversation is mutual care, exploring the role that art can play in bringing people together.
Hi, my name is Guadalupe Maravilla, and I'm here to speak about Disease Thrower number 3.
Guadalupe, it's so wonderful to have you with us today. I'm really excited to speak with you. Today I wanted to talk to you specifically about your series, Disease Throwers, which you started in 2019 and it's ongoing. I know you've called them healing instruments and that you yourself are a healer. Could you talk to me a little bit about that notion of healing and how it relates to the series?
I was part of the first wave of undocumented children to come to this country in the 80s, escaping civil war. And I'm also a cancer survivor, and I always see illness and migration being one. So what I learned through my own healing from cancer, I realized that any untreated trauma can manifest into an illness. And I see this kind of emerging in my communities. When I got cancer, it was directly connected to being a child in a civil war, having bombs fall next to me in my house. So for me, overcoming cancer was a turning point in my practice. I work with Western medicine. I did chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries, but also work with healers from all over the world. I work with shamans, witches, doctors of all sorts from Tibet, China, Korea, Native Americans in the US, Mexico, Central America, and South America. And I learned about what plant medicine is. I learned what sound as medicine is, how to heal the mind, right, and the traumas. Now I volunteer at a church in Brooklyn, and I work with the undocumented community and the cancer community, and I teach them the tools. So that's part of the practice that morphs into my Disease Thrower series, which are healing instruments.
How did you begin to incorporate found objects and sound into these really beautiful, wonderful shrines and headdresses that you've called these sculptures?
Yeah, when the person is ready, it's really important to figure out what the source was of this trauma and how to heal it. For me, it was important to go back as a US citizen, as an adult, and retrace my own migration route. Go back to this land that I crossed when I was a child. I was by myself. I was escaping civil war, and go back to these lands and confront these spaces. So I started doing that as a way to overcome this trauma, right? Mm-hmm. It's my own therapy. And eventually I started picking up objects that were part of my personal shrines, and then these objects became part of my sculptures. And then that's where the Disease Throwers started coming from. I believe that everything has energy. This glass has energy. The glass with water is a completely different energy now because they're together, right? The shoes that I'm wearing, this table, and everything in the sculptures means something. Nothing is random, right? Like I communicate with the energy, but also the symbology of what the objects are as well.
So you've spoken about how sound can also be a healing element. How does sound incorporate into your work, and how do you see sound here?
Sound is a major component of my healing. You can look at every continent, every indigenous culture. The sound always carries the ceremonies. It's just like all sound-based.
How do you work with these sound healers, and how do you activate these sculptures in a setting that's in an institution?
The main instrument that we're using are gongs. Mm-hmm. NASA discovered that every planet has a vibrational sound frequency, and everything has a sound frequency. And I'm working with a scientist to understand what the actual vibration is doing to the body. So I'm exploring and learning a lot about how to heal.
Could you tell me specifically about the Disease Thrower number 3 that we have in this collection?
The one we have here is a water gong. So it has the same sound frequency as water. So water is used for healing. Our bodies are 60, 70% water. So when you hear the vibration, you feel it in the water in your body, and it shakes it and it releases a lot of toxins, stress, anxiety, and the trauma even. I use loofahs a lot in my work because as a kid we used them in El Salvador to exfoliate the skin. It's another metaphor for cleansing. The roots are roots from a plant from Central America and Mexico, the epazote. It's part of my medicine. The frog was a big part of my healing because I use medicine from the Amazon, and it's supposed to kind of release and reset the body. It just kind of, it just releases all the toxins. So I use the natural poison from the frog to release the chemotherapy in my body, and that's what was part of my healing.
In this journey of picking up these found objects, how do you decide which objects go to which sculpture? Do they call out to you?
When I'm working on a sculpture, I'm specifically looking for objects for them. I don't stockpile objects in my studio. So basically, whatever I find, it goes right to the sculpture.
Can you talk a little bit about what you have on the gongs?
It's a very simple children's game. You put pairs of numbers on the wall and you connect numbers. The only rule, you cannot touch any lines. For the sculpture, I play with someone who has cancer or is a cancer survivor. It's about bonding people that have similar experiences and making art out of it.
Do you see your sculptures always activated, or do you see them dormant?
They function as a sculpture like any other sculpture in the museum, but they come alive when the ceremonies happen. In 100 years when I'm not around, if there's a crisis in the world, the sculptures can be brought together and be activated. It'll last forever. So many possibilities for the future as well, even when I'm not here.
It all seems to kind of come together as a sort of balance that we're trying to achieve. Balance within ourselves, balance within what's happening around us, and then balance with the world. I would love to thank you, Guadalupe, for being with me today and for us learning more about your Deceased Throwers series, and in particular with the one that we have in our collection. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.